Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and I want to talk about optimism. What is optimism? Optimism is an expectation of success, erring on the side of an expectation of success, having faith in success is another way to put it. But there's another way to look at optimism versus pessimism, as opposed to pessimism. It's the opposite, expecting failure, seeing the negative first. First being key here. So what does first mean? What does first mean? First means the predominant attitude you have towards a person, situation, or policy, I guess. If you're making policies, if you're making decisions, especially if you're in a position of authority where you are making decisions on behalf of other people, there's something called a red light first system versus a green light first system. These are the same ideas, actually, as optimism and pessimism. You're expecting either success or failure, really, at the bottom line of it. So what are the trade-offs here? What does it look like in practice to have a red light first system? Well, turns out we do have some examples of this in history. We have many examples of where a red light first system, that is one that requires permission or certification, some kind of green light before things are allowed to proceed or a person is allowed to do something, has caused problems. Such as, consider the legal argument that a person is guilty until proven innocent. This should sound wrong because it is wrong. It's patently and obviously wrong for a couple of reasons. I'm going to highlight those in just a second here. So pessimism, or a red light first system, also known as guilty until proven innocent, means that in the absence of evidence, a person is convicted. That's all it takes. All it takes to get a conviction, if they are presumed guilty until proven innocent, is a total absence of evidence. Okay, well, that works out pretty well if you're the judge or the administrator, right? But it's not fair and it's not accurate. You end up cutting into healthy, innocent flesh, so to speak, with that system. And this is the basis for American justice, at least in principle, where it is legally required that innocence be assumed, that people are presumed innocent, is the phrase they use. There's another part to this that I don't think a lot of people have thought about. I want to highlight that in just a couple of minutes here. So the attitude of a presumption of innocence sounds great. And it's sad and funny how many people will acknowledge this and learn about it in school and then go right on in their lives as if they never even heard about it. They'll continue as if it made no sense whatsoever, and they'll continue to be pessimistic, assume the worst case scenario, deny people a vote of confidence every chance they get, and especially when these people become decision makers or policy makers, it has an implication that means something goes along with it. The attitude that a person must give a green light in order for other people to just exist or be themselves, to carry on in any general capacity. The idea presumes that the administrator or decision maker has seen it all. It presumes that they are equipped and experienced to handle literally everything that could possibly come up, and that they're going to be well-funded and well-staffed enough to cover all their bases, which it doesn't happen because there are edge cases. There's something called edge cases where you have a perimeter around which things fall through the cracks, and you end up with, and this is the reason why it fails eventually, a shrinking surface of usability. So this is all actually provable. This is mathematically provable. Erring on the side of pessimism, erring on the side of safety or cowardice, every time, as a rule of thumb, when all else is equal, that is to say, without good reason, without any kind of substantial reason, probable cause is another way to say it, without any of that, you end up with a shrinking surface of freedom. a shrinking surface of usability and freedom and quality of life. And it's not surprising, because every decision you make in the name of safety, all things being equal again, that is without good reason, you're going downhill. You're taking the easy path. You're taking the path of least resistance. You're presuming that you're qualified to handle everything and everyone that comes up, because you're in your arrogance at that point. If you're that person, you are saying that you've seen it all. There's nothing can surprise you, and you are all-knowing. The administrator who says that they are qualified to greenlight everyone is playing God. They are calling themselves God, in other words. It's not their business, first of all, what people do until it involves them. This should be obvious. And you don't really need to know much else about it. If there's no problem and it doesn't concern them, they have no business greenlighting anybody. There are no arguments to support that, because they owe you a green light already. Optimism, last thing I'll say about this is, optimism is difficult. It requires courage. And that's why it pays off, because there's effort involved. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about putting effort into something and getting something valuable out of it on average? Some kind of, elbow grease, some work involved. Optimism is difficult for a reason, because you're taking a risk. You're erring on the side of faith and an expectation that things are going to work out, all things being equal. Now, don't get me wrong, I want to qualify this. If there's a reason to be concerned about something, things aren't equal at that point. I keep saying all things being equal. What I mean is, if you have probable cause that something's not right, that's a whole different situation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a first meeting with a stranger and you have zero information about them. Do you trust them? What are the pros and cons? Maybe they're thinking the exact same thing, and whether you extend trust determines whether they will do the same thing or not. Some people are just mirrors. They hold up a mirror to you. So if you extend generosity, optimism, and a vote of confidence, guess what you get in return? More often than not every time, more often than not. And in terms of legal justice, the very last thing I'll say is, in terms of legal justice, it is required to presume innocence. You have a legal requirement and an ethical and logical requirement to assume that somebody has not committed a crime until there's evidence to the contrary. That's just how it goes. So, don't just say, hey, that sounds real good, and move on with your day. Make sure that sinks in. It's very important. Reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.